Welcome to Shares Spotlight. Today I have Ian Hairbottle, Chief Executive of Gemfields, a emeralds and ruby miner, and one of the rare mining stocks to actually go up over the last few years. So it gives me great pleasure to talk about the company's strategy. So obviously with the way the company works, you seem to have a far greater influence on product pricing than most miners. Could you talk through how you've managed to achieve that and how you can actually influence the price?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's very fitting with your introduction. As you said, we're one of the few companies whose share price is actually increasing over the last while, and a lot of that is down to the fact that we're unique in the mining world at the moment, where we're not mining a commodity. We're not a price taker, we literally are a price maker. And there are various ways we've been able to achieve this increased growth in prices. Some of it we can take credit for, some we can't. Let's start with the ones we can't. Part of the reason that's driven the value we can achieve for our rough emeralds, rubies, and amethyst is the fact that we're able to give large volumes of consistent supply to the downstream market. So those are pure downstream market dynamics, but you have to realize colored stones, they're a luxury, but they require marketing and economies of scale. And without supply, you can't do that. So by us providing the volumes, the market itself has driven downstream demand, customer awareness, and so on. The other components is the way that we actually mine and market. So not only do we mine, we make sure that the right quality of material goes through to the right downstream customer, who then supports it with marketing, and we ourselves, we commit about 11% of revenue to marketing and advertising. So all of that is driven demand, and increased demand means increased prices.
Yeah, and is it? Do you think there's any restrictions on people who can actually come to the auctions, take part? Because I imagine if you can actually sort of keep people hungry, that must have some influence on the price long term.
Absolutely, absolutely. We do. We definitely limit the number of people who attend our auction. Generally, for our emerald auctions, we try and keep it around 30 companies. For our ruby auctions, we try and keep it around 50. We have at any given time between 200 and 300 companies that are desperate to come. So on the one hand, you think inviting more companies creates more demand and gets higher prices. But Gemfields, our whole philosophy is not just gemstones and increasing demand, but it's ethical supply, transparent route to market. And we always live by the philosophy is who we sell to is as important as how much we sell for. So to some extent, actually, we could drive the prices short-term higher, but we're a long-term company, and we see ourselves as custodians of the industry. And in order to do that right, it's very important you get the right product to the right company that treats it in the right way and distributes it appropriately.
So with the projects you got in Mozambique, the ruby one, obviously this is still in sort of trial mining phase, but do you hope to replicate what you've done with emeralds in terms of the selling strategy as well?
Very much so. In fact, we hope to do what we did with emeralds and some. We've been pretty successful. We're very pleased with what we've done with our Kaja mine in Zambia. We're hoping to replicate that in Colombia. We haven't got a project there yet, but I have said to the market we would love it if we could get one there in the not too distant future. We've also just announced we're looking at a prospecting license. We've initiated some work in Ethiopia, all for emeralds. So the emeralds is going well. The rubies is our new boy on the block, if you could say that. But my goodness, we're very excited. And so as you rightly say, we've owned this license for just over 3 years. We've been prospecting and really bulk sampling, etc. But I certainly believe not only will we be able to do there what we did with emeralds, but much more. So very exciting.
So where's the competition for the current supply of rubies in the world?
For rubies, let me just jump back to emeralds. So emeralds, it's about a third from Colombia, a third from Brazil, a third from Zambia. So, those are all relatively equal markets. From rubies, historically, and I'm going back a couple of hundred years, it was Thailand. That supply was then mined out. And for the last 100 years or so, the vast majority, at least 90%, was Burma. Burma's had its own issues. One, that it's having to go deeper and deeper, supply is drying up. Two, is various political challenges, etc. And so we are currently a small percentage of global supply, maybe 10-15%, but I believe our Mozambique deposit has potential to be at least 40%, if not even more. This is the wonderful thing. Rubies are extremely rare. I'm just going to give you an example, not me, but one of the managers of one of the big auction houses, Sotheby's, recently said, he said, if you ask me, find me a 10-carat D-flawless diamond, give me a few hours and I can show you 100. When you say, give me a great 10-carat emerald, give me a few months and I might not get you one. And if you want a really great ruby, give me a year and I might not get you one. And so rubies are significantly rarer than emeralds, and emeralds even rarer than diamonds. So supply is scarce, but we're hoping to be able to give better volumes to drive more demand and more buying opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's lots of people who are very excited about your rubies project. I mean, as one analyst called it, one of the most dramatic mines you could visit anywhere on the planet. I guess the flip side is you've got such a large license area. You know, people could come up and effectively scoop up rubies with their hands. So I know you flagged security issues in the past. Is it something that you need to concentrate on a smaller area of the project, or the flip side, do you increase in security to make sure you're completely in control of everything that's happening there?
I mean, first of all, that analyst comment, I think he's probably being a little bit toned down when he said that. He was. There were a few really exciting ones, but it's hard not to get excited. I mean, when you think that those gems have been hiding under the ground for 500 million years, and you arrive on this mine, the only way I can explain it is, wow, it's really exciting. Naturally, that does generate security issues. All mining companies, but specifically those of higher value, so your golds and your platinums and your gemstones, always have security challenges, and we are no different to those. So we have security challenges in our emerald mine. The security challenges there are slightly less because we're mining so much deeper under the surface. With rubies, yes, there is a fairly considerable amount of value over a large area, relatively close. It's still underground, but relatively close to the surface, and so security is an ongoing challenge. One of the issues with Gemfields is, as I said earlier, our commitment is to transparency and ethics. So we have to manage this. It's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we are only custodians of those gems on behalf of the country and people of Mozambique. So if we ignore those challenges and those gems are stolen and smuggled across the borders, we co-responsible. We need to make sure Mozambique gets what's due. But on the other hand, we have to do it in a way that's acceptable to global standards. So I think we're doing a reasonable job. And one of those ways is, as I said, is to increase our relationship with local communities, constantly improving those, plus improving our own on-site security and mechanization as we bring in more mechanization. So it's a multifaceted thing. It is a challenge we face, but as somebody said to me once, he said, Ian, I somehow guess holding on to what you know is there is a slightly easier job than hoping you find what you guess is there. And I think he's right.
And so obviously, if you say you're working on behalf of the government, the government in Mozambique is struggling with lower tax and royalty income from sort of the coal, iron ore, mineral sand products. So obviously they could look at your product and go, actually, looks really great. Is there the risk, do you think, that they might sort of capitalise on this situation and actually push up your taxes, obviously once you start commercial production?
Yeah, you're 100% right, and I don't think this is unique to Mozambique. Mozambique right now has its challenge where they were expecting certain revenues from coal and oil, etc., and with those struggling, they're going down, and we're doing super well. So there's always those challenges, and that's not unique just to Mozambique. We're sitting in the place with an election coming in, and you see we're facing the same challenges right here and everywhere in the world. On the positive side for us is right now we are the single, and we've been given recognition by this for the government, we are the single largest tax-paying company in capital Delgado, so that's the northern province where we operate. We've also been given an award for the most transparent tax-paying company in Mozambique. So we're very proud of that, and that's a wonderful pat on the back, but it also puts a spotlight. I have to say, to date, our relationship with the governments in which we operate, whether it's Mozambique or Zambia or elsewhere, has been very good. We interact with them on a regular basis and a very transparent basis. And on the basis of what we've had to date, I think, while they would always be tempted, they also want to encourage job creation. They also want to encourage, global marketing, attract more foreign investors. So, probably it's a temptation, but I don't think it's a massive risk.
Yeah. So obviously in Zambia for your emeralds project, and the government there is getting a dividend from the profits of the business, but the PLC shareholders of Gemfields are not yet getting dividend. Is that likely to change, or do you need to spare cash to ultimately build a ruby mine?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good question again, is the fact that we paid dividends to our partners. Now remember, Kagem has paid a dividend, and Cargem's Partners is PLC and the government, so it is now in a profitable state. That money that comes to PLC doesn't go to shareholders yet, it goes into growth. I'm personally a very big fan of dividends. When I was running previously with Tanzanite One, we paid a dividend, I think, every reporting period, twice a year. So I'm very committed to dividends. What I would never want to do is pay a dividend and then have to ask for some cash back. And there's a lot of companies over the last few years, just recently we've seen a few more that have done that. That doesn't really make sense to me, so I wouldn't want to do that. And also an honest truth, not trying to be facetious, not trying to say to my investors, I know better how to manage your money than you do, but I do know firsthand how much opportunities we have right now. The opportunity for significant growth within Gemfields is incredible, very exciting. And so that really means that in the short term, we could probably put that money to better use in the company, hopefully creating more long-term stability and much bigger dividends in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I guess some people might say that the way in which you are spending your cash at the moment, particularly with Fabergé, there's questions about should you be wasting money on that? Like, it's a loss-making business. I know there's still people not quite sure how owning a sort of fashion brand fits in with the bigger scheme, but has that got a long-term future within Gemfields?
Thank you. I'm very glad you asked that. I get asked this question about Fabergé on a regular basis. Quite often people would say to me, Ian, why are you still supporting this loss-making business? And kind of being a miner who's got I can be a bit emotive at times. Sometimes my answer is perhaps not for your program, so we'll save that one. But I'm always a bit amazed because, it's amazing how very serious people that I respect, investors and etc. in the market who understand so many things, tend to analyze a business in a segment. Now, first of all, your question is why do we do that? We have always said very clearly from day one is Gemfields is a mining company that markets. So the marketing component has always been committed, very important to us. We also say we're a luxury miner. So because we're not mining, as we said right in the beginning, we're not mining a commodity. We are price makers, not price takers. And Fabergé fits in exactly with that. Some people try and compare us with De Beers and their retail venture, or Harry Winston, between the mining and the retail outlets. But that's actually quite different, never mind De Beers, but with Harry Winston, they were trying to be vertically integrated. They were trying to hold on every penny of a small section in a much bigger industry. Gemfields is not. Gemfields is a mining company that sells its good in the rough. We then generate revenue through rough sales. We then market and promote in various ways, and Fabergé has always been seen as one of our marketing wings. We have to spend money on different marketing areas, but at least Fabergé allows us to position our product at the highest end the way we want it, not the way someone else. And then just from that point of view, while Fabergé as a standalone is still costing us money to operate, it's clear, anyone who looks at the increase we've achieved in prices over the last few years, and especially what happened after acquiring Fabergé, it actually is a profit center because it has helped drive more demand, which has helped drive more revenues.
Yeah, okay. And finally, sapphires in Sri Lanka is, obviously you sort of indicated that there's some work going on there. I presume this is very still early stage.
Exactly.
Don't expect big news for the moment, or actually this is something you're pretty excited about, is it?
I am excited about it, but in all honesty, if you say to me, Ian, give a scale of your real excitement over the short term, the right up front is Emeralds is doing well, and we certainly believe there's potential to increase our emerald production footprint, both in Zambia and potentially Colombia and others. So that's number one. Number two, as I said, rubies is really exciting, and we've only just scratched the surface. So that takes the very big, that's probably the primary excitement. Sapphires I'm excited about because I love color stones in general, but I have learned that while there are so many lovely stones like amethysts and tanzanite and others, generally you need marketing inertia, and it's easiest to obtain those, and you get the best results quickest with emeralds, rubies and sapphires, what I call the traffic light of color. Now our Sri Lankan project is just a toe in the water, and the reason we did that is learning from the past. What happened with emeralds, we acquired the mine, and then we acquired the knowledge in terms of the market, the distribution, the grading system, etc. Same happened with rubies. We got the mine, then we did the learning. Being committed to color and sapphires at some point, what we've said is we can afford to do the learning first with an understanding that the right mine will come at the right time, and then we can really hit the road. So toe in the water, part of a learning curve, but the potential for great sapphires is very exciting, and we certainly do believe in that.
Great. Thanks very much. Thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.